paragraph. So good morning, everybody. Iris, would you please pray us in?
Yes. Good morning, Lynn. Good morning, all. And I'll pray us in. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent Him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because He who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever He wishes, knowing He goes there with me. I will be healed as I let Him teach me to heal. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Iris. So let us get our screen share up. And all right, did we read paragraph 4? I think we should start with read paragraph 4. So who would like to read?
I'm sorry, Lynn, I didn't hear what section we were in.
We're in chapter 2, section 7, cause and effect, and we're on paragraph 4.
Thank you.
All right. So, okay, I'll read, and then we'll just move on from there. So paragraph 4. It has already been said that you believe you cannot control fear because you yourself made it, and your belief in it seems to render it out of your control. Okay, I'm going to stop right here. Do you guys get what he's saying here? We made it, but we think it rules us now. And I was talking about that the other day with playing the game with my family, and we changed the rule of the game because we didn't like the way that it worked. It didn't work right. And then later, when we came back and I said, you know what, let's change that rule again to this. And they were like, well, yeah, but it's the rule. And I'm like, yeah, but we made the rule. Yeah, but it's the rule now. But we made the rule. Do you see? We made the rule. We can make another rule. But this is how the ego thinks is, the rule is it applies to me. And so I can't change it. I can't change what I'm doing because I'm bound by this. And so I just want to talk for a minute about what are these rules that we're talking about. The rule that says that I'm not worthy. Worthiness looks like this, and I don't look like that. I'm not beautiful. Beauty looks like this, and I don't look like that. I'm not smart. Intelligence looks like this, and I am not that. So, we make up our mind, oh, here's what I think beauty is, and it doesn't reflect me. Here's what I think being good is, but it's something outside of me. And the reality of it is, if I'm the one who said, this is what I think is beautiful, and it doesn't include me, then I'm the one who made up that rule, not somebody else. There may be other people telling me that I'm ugly, but that's their problem. That has nothing to do with me. If I believe that I'm ugly because somebody else tells me I'm ugly, then I'm the one who said, I believe that, and therefore I'm affected by it. So it's he's putting it straight in our own lap that we're the ones who made it up, and then we think that it made us up. So so he says yet any attempt to resolve the error through attempting the mastery of fear is useless. In fact, it asserts the power of fear by the very assumption that it needs to be mastered. The true resolution rests entirely on mastery through love. In the interim, however, The sense of conflict is inevitable since you have placed yourself in a position where you believe in the power of what does not exist. Okay, does this make sense to everyone? Is everyone clear on what it is that he's saying here? And if you are, will you please tell me what it is? Does anyone have any way of explaining this? Yes, Iris, please go ahead.
Thank you, Lynn. Yeah, not sure if I can explain the paragraph, but I have this idea that exactly what you were sharing about the rules, about everything. We've made up like all the rules, and when I was sitting with one of my colleagues, we were just kind of talking about work, like work stuff, just work. And then uh, they they kind of taught me something, which is very interesting. Uh, it's very interesting. So it's like this. So the word realize, so the word realize, and then the word real, real eyes, like what we see, real eyes, realize, real eyes, and then real lies, like what is in the middle of belief, like real lies. And then my colleague says to me, oh, yeah, this world is like a matrix. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, it's amazing that my colleague said this. And he's not a Course in Miracles student. He's just a average kind of person, just a regular person that doesn't do Course in Miracles or anything. And that made me think like, yeah, like we've made up all these rules. We've made everything up. We even made like rules about what is good and then what is God, and then this is how we are supposed to live. And then if you don't live like that and we do something completely random, then we punish ourselves. And even that is like something that we've made up. And like it's funny because like uh I wouldn't like question this some time back. I would just think that, oh, this is just the way, like I would, in fact, it would not even occur to me to question anything. And now like I'm beginning to realize that everything is made up. Like it's a complete what's the word? Like it's a complete I don't know the word, but it's not the way God thinks. It's just completely made up. And when Lynn was saying this about like, but we made up the rules and we can change them. Like, it's really very important. Like, it's so freeing to know that um, like realize and then real eyes and then real lies, lies. And handing that to Lynn.
Yeah, wow. It's always incredible when, other people, random people say these things to us and, we realize this is not an uncommon thought. People are thinking about this. They just don't have a course in miracles to explain it to them like we're being explained. So, this is, thank goodness we have this. But yeah, I love that. And that's it. We made up the rules, all of them, the government, what's right and wrong as far as morals, what's good and bad as far as nutrition. We made it all up. So then we think everybody has to follow these rules, and as we find out, people don't. There's a lot of people that have different ideas about nutrition or health or lots of stuff that are equally valid. And unless you recognize that, you may think that they're all a bunch of cuckoos, but in reality, they just have a different point of view. Glorian, please go ahead.
Good morning, Lynn and Iris. Thank you. Um, it's coming to me like this. It has already been said that you believe you cannot control fear because you yourself made it. This is the identification that we have with the ego. The ego is fear. And your belief, the lie, in it seems to render it out of your control. It's madness. Yet any attempt to resolve the error, it's all error, it's the mistaken belief, the tiny mad idea. Yet any attempt to resolve the error through attempting the mastery of fear is useless. And what he's saying here is that we can't think our way out of it. We cannot get out of it on the level of the mental. There's no escape except one escape, which we know is to accept our identity and move into that space of allowing spirit to reinterpret it for us. In fact, it asserts the power of fear by the very assumption that it needs to be mastered. It's all thought. The true resolution rests entirely on mastery through love. And what is love? The shift from fear to love is the miracle. In the interim, however, the sense of conflict is inevitable since you have placed yourself in a position where you believe in the power of what does not exist. So we made the ego, we believe it's real, and we really can't think our way out of it. We have to have it reinterpreted for us. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Gloria. And yeah, that is beautiful. And I was, yeah, gosh, it's just so incredible. Kieran, let's see. Cindy had her hand up. Did you have your hand up, Cindy?
Yeah, I did. But then started forgetting what I was going to say. But I came in when I was just talking, and then and then when you said, Lynn, when you said, people have these thoughts, but they don't have an explanation like we do. I really want to emphasize how grateful I am that we have this book that explains our psychological, ways of thinking so vividly and so on the spot. I just get amazed now that I'm really paying attention to the words and really listening to it or hearing the words. It really is amazing because I don't know any other practice that I did throughout my life that pinpointed the problem and gave the answer and the explanation and the hope and and the miracles that it says that we can have every day. And it's just a matter of correction. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Cindy. Yes, 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 yes. What a relief, isn't it? Oh my gosh. Of course, I think that now and then later when something comes up, I forget. So that's why we have to keep reminding over and over, this is not the real world. This is not the real world. Karen, please go ahead.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, so what's coming to me is where he's talking about the belief. Like it has already been said that you believe you cannot control fear because you yourself made it, and your belief in it seems to render it out of your control. So for me, that's just again reminding me that the ego wants me to believe it's out of my control. The ego wants me to believe that the problem is outside of my mind when the problem is in my mind. The answer and the problem are in the mind always. So all I have to do is go inward, and ask to see this differently. I made it, so I can change it. There's nothing outside of my mind that has power or control over me unless I give it that power. So it's always, always, always bringing the awareness back to the mind for me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. And yeah, I mean, it's that little belief that we have that this comes from this came from somewhere else. And not even realizing, no, it didn't come from anywhere else. I'm the one who made it up. So, wow. Brooklyn, hi, sweetheart. Good morning. Good morning. Please take the mic.
Namaste, mighty companions. It's so wonderful to be reminded. I just want to I caught something and how we create our own world. And I want to make a statement right now. I talk as well as I write. I'm making that statement because I've been noticing, since I would say that, I don't talk as well as I write, it's been getting worse. So I talk as well as I write. And that's the story. And no matter what ego says. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I do notice in the newest edition of Miracles Magazine on page 41, there is a beautiful poem by our dear Lynn Artino. So I'm glad that all got put in there correctly. And, and if you don't get Miracles Magazine, it's published by the One Mind Foundation. And if you go on the John Monday's website, I think is where you can actually subscribe to that. So, and of course, it's a great magazine. So, congratulations, your friend.
Thank you. Who would have known it might not have gotten on there if it weren't for a mistake. So we never know, right? You got to laugh.
There are no mistakes. All right. Does anybody else have any comments on this paragraph? This is a huge thing, right? This is a huge thing that Jesus putting right back in our laps. And I kind of wish folks had been here listening when we were reading from Absence from Felicity, because it's so funny to hear how Jesus talked to Helen. And I mean, he was just really giving her kind of like the straightforward, here I'm giving this to you, and you were just your resistance is just keeping you from actually seeing this beautiful thing you could have. And I realized that, yes, let us not forget about this beautiful thing that we have. Anybody else have any comments on paragraph 4? All right, is anybody wanting to read paragraph 5? This is
I'll
a
read
good
it.
one.
I'll read it.
Okay. All right, and I'll have to move it through because it's kind of
Yes.
longer. So.
Oh, yeah, I didn't. It's long. Okay. Nothing and everything cannot coexist. To believe in one is to deny the other. Fear is really nothing, and love is everything. Whenever light enters darkness, the darkness is abolished. When you believe what you believe is true for you. In this sense, the separation has occurred, and to deny it is merely to use denial inappropriately. However, to concentrate on error is only a further error. The initial corrective procedure is to recognize temporarily that there is a problem, but only as an indication that immediate correction is needed. This establishes a state of mind in which the atonement can be accepted without delay. It should be emphasized, however, that ultimately no compromise is possible between everything and nothing. Time is essentially a device by which all compromise in this respect can be given up. It only seems to be abolished by degrees, because time itself involves intervals that do not exist. Miscreation made this necessary as a corrective device. The statement, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whatsoever believeth in him should not, so that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life," needs only one slight correction to be meaningful in this context. He gave it to his only begotten Son. Okay. So if we could go back to the top, okay. Nothing and everything cannot coexist. So nothing is what the ego made, and everything is our reality. To believe in one is to deny the other, so it's all or nothing. Fear is really nothing, and love is everything. The ego, fear, the dream is nothing, and love, the miracle, the experience of oneness is everything. Whenever light enters darkness, the darkness is abolished. The light, the truth of understanding, enters this dream of fear and death. That darkness is abolished. What you believe is true for you. In this sense, the separation has occurred, and to deny it is merely to use denial inappropriately. So we cannot deny what we made. We seemingly see it, so we have to use it to bring us to what we really do want to see. However, to concentrate on error is only a further error. So as the other paragraph was saying, we really can't think our way out of it. It has to be laid down and set aside and reinterpreted correctly. The initial corrective procedure is to recognize temporarily that there is a problem. So we're going to say, okay, I seemingly see this, but only as an indication that immediate correction is needed. So we say, okay, we recognize we're in fear. Holy Spirit, help me see this differently. This establishes a state of mind in which the atonement, the undoing of fear, can be accepted without delay. So if we immediately say, this is not what I want, we ask to have it reinterpreted in true perception for us, there's no delay. The only delay that there is the one that we make by choosing it. It should be emphasized, however, that ultimately no compromise is possible between everything and nothing. So we can have a little bit of hell. It's either we give it all up and accept the grace of God, what we are in truth, or we have this. If we can't hold on to any of it because it just drags us back into the fear. Okay. Where was I up to? Okay. There you go. It should be emphasized, however, that ultimately no compromise is possible between everything and nothing. Time is essentially a device by which all compromise in this respect can be given up. So time is that interval, the gap in what's real, where we give up what we don't want. We give up the false perception, the tiny mad idea. We give up nothing in favor of accepting everything. It only seems to be abolished by degrees because time itself involves intervals that do not exist. So it's not real. So it's a trick of mind, actually. And we think it's, we're going to give up this, we'll forgive that. Ultimately, the way we heal is to move into full non-judgment. There is no good, there is no evil, there is no right, there is no wrong. We relinquish judgment, what we're placing on the world. If we do it in degrees, we're still back in hell. He's telling us here we can't have a little bit of it. It has to be all or nothing. Miscreation, the mistaken belief, made this necessary as a corrective device. The statement, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life, needs only one slight correction to be meaningful in this context. He gave it to his only begotten Son. There's only one. Our reality is spirit in a state of grace forever. So whoever believes in him, whoever accepts his true identity, shall not perish, but have everlasting life, because everlasting life is what we are in truth. Thanks.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you so much, Gloria. Yeah, anybody have, this is a pretty intensive little paragraph here. I mean, he starts out that saying nothing and everything can't coexist. So you can't be in two worlds. You can only be in one. And right now, the world we're in basically is a world of fear and darkness. Dove, please go ahead.
Okay, as she's reading, I realized that we've entered into an alternate universe of time and space where everything ages because of time and returns then to its imaginary elements. So it's all made up. And no wonder we age, because we live in time. And time is all about time passes, and you're born, you live, you die, just like Rev Wayne said many years ago. If it's okay, I'd like to read Lynn Antar's poem.
Please go ahead.
That's on page 41 of Miracles Magazine. It's the centerfold, by the way, the centerfold of Miracles Magazine, and I'll read it. It takes a second. Please let me be the love I am, still though I let distinction have its way. Let me remember myself as together. It is so scary to feel all alone. As in arms of one together, I'm welcome without doubt. Each other's all are felt together, separate concerns, not ours alone. Tentacles of temptation are masochistic, see them as one. That is the falsity. Stories, threads of fear, use all as leads for us together. Trust of love in all illusion, know who's boss as gratitude deeps. As gratitude deeps, feel the arms you never left. In love, Lynn, Brooklyn.
Love it. Beautiful. Congratulations. I love that.
Beautiful, Brooklyn. That's great. Beautiful.
All right. Karen, please go ahead.
That was beautiful, Brooklyn. I love that. So talented. Oh my goodness. Yeah, what really jumped out to me in this paragraph is where he talked about the use of denial inappropriately. So I think it's in sentence 6 where he says, in this sense, the separation has occurred, and to deny it is merely to use denial inappropriately. So I just love the way that the Course talks about true denial. And it again brings us back to the power of decision and the power of our mind. And we read that in chapter 2, in section 2, in the atonement as defense. And I was literally just thinking about atonement as defense as such a great way to, look at atonement as a defense against the truth. And, that the atonement through protecting our innocence, I think, But anyway, the true denial is when we don't allow anything other than God to affect us. And, that takes a lot of practice. And it takes a lot of practice to recognize that there is really nothing outside of my mind that can upset me. And, when I do allow things to upset me, I can look at it and really recognize that it is the thought that comes first, despite the temptation to believe it's the other way around. Back to lesson 17, which we share about a lot, because it's such a temptation to believe that there is something outside of me that can hurt me or that can affect me, and it cannot. So I am responsible for what I see. This course is so filled with great stuff, to keep us, to keep our minds healthy and healed. And I think it's only the attraction of guilt that keeps us sick. The attraction of guilt that, the guilt is the unforgiving thoughts that just need to be healed. So yeah, that's the part that I really love, because that's the part that I work on a daily basis. So that really jumped out at me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. Yes, my goodness. And that's, why we do this, so that we have a basis to look from and to make decisions from. So and that's kind of the gift that we have now, is that we because we're so reluctant to accept wholly and completely. We're so reluctant to do that, that we're really given this little, we might call it a grace period, uh, for us to make up our minds, and, um, you know, we, like we were talking earlier, we didn't just learn to speak English when we came out the womb or whatever language we speak. We didn't learn to say mama or daddy or sing our ABCs or any of those things. We had to hear them and repeat them and hear them and repeat them and hear. And how long before it came to relationship that mama means that person that's there, not this other person, or that, A is different than D. Uh, you know, we learn these things. And that's what we're doing here. We're being given a little bit of time here to learn what we are, to remember what we are, by seeing, uh, that the only answer to any problem that comes up is to, um, turn it over to the Holy Spirit. So when he says, uh, time is essentially a device by which all compromise in this respect can be given up. It only seems to be abolished by degrees because time itself involves intervals that do not exist. And that's the space that we put there to, like we're, Fred Flintstone breaks on the ground with our feet. Stop trying to stop the vehicle. We're just doing that very slowly. So miscreation made this necessary as a corrective device, because we wouldn't accept it any other way. And I loved, this is the place where he says, "For God so loved the world that he gave it to his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." So, where the church would tell us that he gave his son, and his son, of course, came and died, um, Jesus says, no, he gave it to his son. God so loved the world that he gave it to his son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. And so, what does that change mean to us then? That the world itself is a gift to us that is giving us the opportunity to forgive, all of our miscreations. Now, basically, the time, as we were talking about that earlier, that every time we experience anything in this world and forgive it, it just cuts one more section off of the illusion. It just whittles it down more and more and more, so that it becomes less and less and less prevalent, and actually, eventually will disappear. That's the whole point, is that it will eventually disappear through our forgiveness. So, this is, all he's really explaining to us is why it's not just happening instantaneously. Why there's not Jesus coming down out of the clouds and, you know, doing all the, horrific and terrific things that supposedly is going to happen. It's not going to happen that way because we wouldn't accept it if it did. I mean, there would be, we'd be, mobilizing the National Guard. This guy is over here rousing people up. You know, we're not going to, just like they didn't accept him the first time. And so this is really an important thing here, that we understand that the reason that we're living in this dream is not because it was foreordained or made for us, is because it's what we made so that we could accept our own reality, or discover our own reality. Karen, please go ahead.
Thanks, Lynn. That was really helpful. And it just made me look again at the sentence you just shared again about time, starting at sentence 11, time is essentially a device by which all compromise in this respect can be given up. It only seems to be abolished by degrees because time itself involves intervals that do not exist. So this reminds me of the linear time that the Course talks about, which is, linear time, according to the ego, is past, present, and future, which is past is sin, present is guilt, and future is fear. So I can't accept the atonement for myself, and I'm only going to miscreate because I can't be in the present moment if I'm still worrying about what happened in the past and I'm still holding my brother to that. And I want him to feel guilty for it still, So it's about always remembering that it's only now. Healing occurs in the present moment. And again, I wanted to mention that I said before that God so loved the world. This is also in chapter 12, section 3, which is, the investment in reality. He says it again in this section. He says, I said before that God so loved the world that he gave it to his only begotten son. God does love the real world, and those who perceive its reality cannot see the world of death. God gave you the real world in exchange for the one you made out of your split mind, and which is the symbol of death. For if you could really separate yourself from the mind of God, you would die. So he's telling us that exactly what we're talking about here, that we made it all up, and the real world is the opposite of the world you made. And so, as long as I can remember, to stay in the present moment, and as soon as I notice my mind wandering, I see that I'm making up a story right away. I'm making it up. This is not real. I'm right here, right now. Whatever I'm thinking about from the past is not here. And I've been able to reel it in sooner and sooner. I've been noticing it because I do it all the time. So these are great reminders. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Yes, and I do it all the time too. Iris, please go ahead.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Karen. Yeah, I do it all the time, all the time. And I just was looking at this one sentence this morning, that it's in paragraph 3, and it says that both miracles and fear come from thought. If you are not free to choose one, you would also not be free to choose the other. By choosing the miracle, you have rejected fear. By choosing the miracle, you have rejected fear. And the other thought I was thinking was that Christ is not outside. Christ is within. And the thoughts that I'm thinking, the thoughts that are like the past, present, and the future, all those thoughts are not Christ. They could be Christ, but they aren't the Christ mind. They are like a miscreation, and and that includes all the thoughts of which I'm aware right now, and including all situations, all what I think I am, what I think about situations, what I think at all. And in lesson 4, it says that these thoughts do not mean anything. And but it's I am not aware I'm doing that. And then I become aware that I'm doing that. And then it comes to like, what am I? So I'm not this this thing that I think I am, and neither is anyone else. And like in that place, there is no one else. There is just the Christ. And like, and it's very interesting. I love this sentence. I'm going to stay with it for a little bit. And it says, both miracles and fear come from thought. Like miracles aren't like something that happens just maybe once in a while. They are natural. Like in that lesson, it says that miracles are natural, and and by choosing the miracle, by choosing God, you have rejected fear. By choosing Christ, by choosing love, and like in the Sedona method, I was listening to this talk on the Sedona method, and it was exactly the course, and it was saying that like before the Sedona method came about, like before it came about, like do I want this thought? Could I let it go? When could I let it go? And before that came about, uh, it was just the teaching was that whatever is the feeling or the thought, whatever is the feeling, just turn it into love. It can be turned into love, whatever it is, even if it's like whatever, like fear. Can I accept things exactly as they are without wanting to change it? Can I accept things exactly as they are? And can I actually love this exactly as it is? Can I actually love this, even if it's the fear? Can I love this fear exactly as it is? And I practice that, and it's so helpful. And it's exactly the same, like just turn it into love. Like Jesus says, we have two emotions, love or fear. And love is, like Dove always says, love is, can I accept this without wanting it to change? And then it doesn't become a problem anymore. And I'm not resisting, like, I'm not even resisting the emotion. And can I just let these thoughts be exactly as they are? And it's really very helpful. I tried it this week. It really works, like really, really works. And this idea, like Christ isn't outside me somewhere, like really far away from me. He's not even near to me, because that is like makes it two. But he is me. He is here, and he is everyone and everything. And yeah, and I'll hand back to Lynn.
Thank you so much, Iris. And thank you for going back to that. And this is where we're reaching to. These are our thoughts, and we are the ones who are in charge of our own minds. What a beautiful gift we've been given, that we're not only told that and given the explanation of that, but that we're being told how to make sure that we can do it. And so thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone who's been sharing. Let's see, are we ready to go on to the next? Anybody else have anything on anything that we've read or discussed so far this morning? Please feel free to put your hand up, and we have about 15 minutes, and we'll be doing the children's edition of A Course in Miracles, and looking for Oddsy should be coming along if she's not here already. And so that's going to be very nice, as always. All right, so let's go on to paragraph 6. Who would like to read paragraph 6? All right, Jack, please do. Welcome, Jack Ronnie.
Paragraph 6. Good morning, Lynn. Good morning, everybody. It should especially be noted that God has only one son. If all his creations are his sons, everyone must be an integral part of the whole sonship. The sonship in its oneness transcends the sum of its parts. However, this is obscured as long as any of its parts is missing. That is why the conflict cannot ultimately be resolved until all the parts of the sonship have returned. Only then can the meaning of wholeness in the true sense be understood. Any part of the sonship can believe in error or incompleteness if he so chooses. However, if he does so, he is believing in the existence of nothingness. The correction of this error is the atonement.
All right, do you have any thoughts on that, Jack?
Well, oh, I don't know. I was so busy reading. I mean, it's all right there. When the one of the last people were sharing, I was thinking about, time and the sonship. When we understand that we all are the sonship and we all are the Son of God together, that's big. That's big. But I wanted to share a little bit on the last thing. There's a beautiful quote in the Course that I love that really collapses time in the way that we hold the past and the future with the guilt and the anxiety. Someone used the word fear for the future. I use the word anxiety for the future and the guilt for the past. But one of my favorite quotes in the Course goes like this. It goes, "You think you hold against your brother what he has done to you. But what you really blame him for is what you did to him. It's not his past, but yours you hold against him. You lack faith in him for what you were. You lack faith in her for what you were. You lack faith in them for what you were." See, projection is the pathway to unhappiness. This projection that we do out there, all this, we have a choice of extension or projection in the world of perception. And if we do projection, we will be inadequate because we're choosing to be unhappy when we project onto others. That's giving up ourself. That's projecting out, not owning ourself. So the whole relationship with time in the dream and how that works in terms of our thoughts and our perceptions is very important and very key to living a full life, a complete life of happiness and joy, the way God created us to be. But this little paragraph here, Lynn, the part there, it says, that is why the conflict cannot ultimately be resolved until all the parts of the sonship have returned. It's like, we really can't have salvation unless we take everybody with us. To be saved, you really have to take everybody with you. You just can't get saved and say, "Oh, I made it. A lot of people didn't make it, but I made it." You really can't get saved that way. You have to bring everybody with you for salvation to happen. But no, it's a great paragraph. I didn't study it so much because I was busy reading. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Jack. Yeah, and that's why we do this. Because how easy it is just to read it and then not see all the things about it. But as you just pointed out very clearly, it also says in at some place that as long as there's one slave left, we cannot be free. And that's basically saying, to me, what I hear is that if there is anyone that I reject that I exclude, that I believe is not worthy of love, is not worthy of the kingdom, uh, then the sonship is not complete. The sonship can only be complete when I completely accept, because as you point out, this is all this world is projected from my own thinking, and as Iris pointed out earlier about that. So so if I'm thinking, I don't like that Jack, he's kind of a jerk, then that's excluding my own. It's like cutting off my toe. It's like cutting off my foot and saying I can walk just as well without it. We can't. There's nobody that we can exclude. And I realize that, I recognize that this week in a kind of profound way. And almost and I was going to say it in a group, and I started to say it, and then someone else said something, so I let them speak, and then it kind of slipped my mind until I went back and looked at the recording, and then I realized, oh my gosh, that's when I realized this amazing thing. And of course, the amazing thing that I realized is that there's a lot of political characters out there, characters in general, that we have opinions about. Maybe we like them, maybe we don't like them. Maybe we would like to be sitting next to them on an airplane. Maybe we wouldn't like to be sitting next to them on an airplane. Maybe we would be, really angry if we had to come in contact with these people. And I was thinking that one of the major trigger people for me, and I'm not going to say any names, y'all can think whoever it is, picture in your mind who's your biggest trigger. And, and I realized that if I were sitting on an airplane next to this person, first off, I'd be in a pretty elevated place, but to be there. But if I were sitting, or if I were in a room with this person, I realized that because of my nature, because of the nature of Lynn, the person of Lynn, I realized that I could not sit next to, I'm going to put my camera on for a minute. I could not sit next to that person and not love them. I could not sit next to that person and not love them, because the nature of Lynn has become so open that I don't see a stranger and I don't see an enemy when I'm face to face with another person, with another human. They may be a character that I see on the television, hear, whatever, read about whatever. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't like that character. That character is, really doing bad things. But on a one-to-one basis, person to person, to be any, I know it from experience. Any person that I'm with, I love them. I want to help them. I want to be kind to them. I want to, I'm just like open to them. And so, I realize, that the thing that obviously is holding me back from, total um total ego annihilation, are these opinions that I have about all these characters out there. But when it comes right down to it, person to person, I have no opinion except that I love you. And that's the nature of, that's my nature. That's what I am. And, if I ever act differently, it's against my nature, and I recognize it, and it's very uncomfortable. It makes me very unhappy. I wouldn't want to be in a place where someone expected me to be cold or cruel to another person, because I couldn't, I would first be so filled with guilt even thinking about that it would probably drive me insane. But secondly, I couldn't. I'm not, that's not my nature. Karen, please go ahead.
Thank you, Lynn. I loved what you said. It's just really, I'm paraphrasing what you said, but you basically said that, what you think about your brother is basically a story that you made up. It's not the truth. We this paragraph is telling us that if we think that we can have any incompletion, if we choose incompletion, we're choosing nothingness. It's nothing. And the real world is made in exchange for the one we made. So, I mean, he tells us over and over and over that we're making this whole thing up. So if I think one person is guilty, you know, it's only because it's an unhealed part of myself that still believes in guilt. And it's deep. I mean, this is like a deep paragraph. It's, you know, we can't spend a lot of time on it because we have to go. But I mean, what you said is so true. And it's just recognizing when I think my brother is different in any way. When I think my brother is different in any way, where is that coming from? Why am I believing that? Let me take a look at that, because it's, yes, in form we're different. Of course we are in form, but we're not talking about form here. Can I look beyond the body? Can I look past the appearances? Thanks.
Thank you, Karen. Yeah. Yeah. And this is, I think maybe next week we'll start again with this same paragraph, because I think this is the crux of the entire course. And definitely worth revisiting. Jack, please go ahead.
You know, Albert Brooks, I think Albert Brooks is a professor at Harvard. I'm not sure whether that's true. I think he is. I'm not sure. But he has a new book out called The Happiness Rebellion. And what he does, he takes of course, we're all in the dream, and Albert Brooks is probably not a student of A Course in Miracles. I don't know whether he is, but in looking at some of the excerpts from his book, it's all about appreciating diversity, appreciating our brother who is different than us, because we're curious and want to know, you know, what makes that person tick that doesn't come from my Caucasian skin. You know, this idea of getting away from homogeny and getting into heterogeneity and diversity and appreciating diversity. And I bring that world into my sharing here because as we look at the polarities of our society, we really see that the Course's message is parallel to in the world, the way that the society has to change in the beautiful appreciation of differences and embracing the difference that our brother and sister bring that come from different ancestral lineages. You know that he's got this beautiful book, The Happiness Rebellion, that I recommend, Albert Brooks. So I just wanted to throw that in because it's parallel to all that we talk about here.
Thank you, Jack. Yeah, I just looked that up. It's Arthur Brooks. So that's why I was confused. And I do see that book.
Excuse me, Arthur Brooks is what I meant.
Arthur Brooks. You said Albert Brooks, which really, he's an actor, Albert Brooks is, and he made probably one of the most profound movies called Defending Your Life. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, Defending Your Life, but that's Albert Brooks. Anyway, it just made me think about that movie and think about him. But I will look for that. I mean, I see that book already. So and he has he has YouTube videos also.
Yeah, Happiness 401k is a little acronym he uses, Happiness 401k.
Okay.
Thank you for correcting me. I meant to say Arthur Brooks.
That's quite all right, because I had to go look it up, and I'm glad I did, because now I'm going to look into his stuff. I love that. And, you know, it does, as we heard this morning, and as Iris was explaining, you don't have to study the Course in Miracles to understand its principles and to use them. So I love it. All right, you guys, let's see. I'm going to stop the share, and thank you everyone for being here. Looking for Oddsy. Hopefully she's coming along. I did tell her today was the day. Let me see. She might be a little bit late.